So now that we have the fields inside of here, the red, the blue, the green, the yellow, and the red field, now we need to create the icons that go up in the corners. And for this, I'm going to turn on the black one just so I have something to reference when I go to draw the icons. So I'll close this up, and I'm going to click on that fields, and I'm going to come down here and create a new layer. Now I want to make sure I have this closed, because if I have it open, it will put it inside of that group, and I don't want that. I want to put it above the group. So I'll close it up, I'll select that one, and then I'll click New Layer. Now I need to go find the icons that I'm going to use. So I'm going to come over here and select the Custom Shape tool, and inside of here are all of the icons that we can use inside of this program. So right now I'm going to go to Pixels, because I do want it to be pixels instead of shapes. And I'll come over here and I'm going to grab the Recycle first, which is right down here. It's Recycle 2. And I'm just going to come up to the corner where the guides intersect. I'm going to click and drag out. I'll hold down the Shift key to constrain the proportions. And I want to pretty much fill up that empty space. Now it was in blue, so I'm going to control click on the icon itself. I'll get the default colors and then hold down Alt and hit backspace. And that way it'll be in black instead of blue. I'll hit Control D to deselect. Now I do need to make a copy of this. So I'm going to hit Control J to make a copy. And then I need to rotate it 180 degrees so it's flipped around, and then move it down to the lower right corner. So to do that, I'll hit Control T to transform. I could also go to Edit and choose Free Transform. And I'm just going to right click on it and choose Rotate 180 degrees. Then I'll come up here and I'll grab it and I'll move it and I'll snap it down to the lower right corner. I'll click this little check mark, and now I have the recycle card pretty much finished. All I have to do is put recycle along the center here. So I need to combine these two layers. So I'll shift click on the other layer, and then to combine them I hit Control E, and that will combine the layers. I could also come to the drop down and choose Merge Layers. As you can see there's Control E. And I'm going to name this Recycle Icon. So now I have the recycle icon. Now I need to make the other icon. So I'm going to turn that eyeball off. I'll create a new layer. I'll come over here. I have my shape tool selected. So now I want to do the reverse. And that's what this is. That's the reverse symbol. So I'll select it. I'll come over here to the corner. And again, I'll do the exact same thing. I'll draw it out, holding down the Shift key. And when I get it pretty much filled out, I'll let go. Now this one, before I move it down to the other corner, rotate and move it down to the other corner, I want to rotate it first right here. So I'm going to hit Control T. I'm going to come out to the edge. And you notice when I get out to the edge, I get that double arrow that's kind of curved. What that means is if I click and drag, I can now rotate this right on the spot. So I'm going to click and start dragging down. Now I want to make sure that it stays at exactly 90 degrees. So I'll hold down the Shift key, and that will tell me when it's at 90 degrees. And you can see right up here I have 90 degrees. Now I want to make sure I let go of the mouse button first before I let go of the Shift key. So I'll move it right into that corner, and I'll click OK. Now I need to do the exact same thing, but I need to make a copy of this layer. So I'll hit Control J to make a copy. And then I'll hit Control T to transform. I'll right click on it, rotate 180 degrees. I'll click and drag it down to the other corner, and then click the check mark. I'll select both layers, and this time I'll go to Layer, and I'll go to Merge Layers, and that will merge those two together. So I'll double click on the name, and this is a reverse icons. I'll turn that off. I'll create a new layer. And this time I'm going to do the +2. Now I have several different ones that I can choose, but I'm going to choose this circle because that's what I used previously. I'm just going to draw it up in the corner up here. So I'll just click and drag, and again I want to hold down the Shift key so it stays circular. And I'll let go. Now I want to put a plus sign in the center. So I'm going to come over here to the Type tool. I have Arial rounded, and that seems like it's going to be okay. It's at 14 points, which is probably way too small, but I want to make sure that it's centered. So I'm going to click on the center up here. That way I can put this right in the center, and I'll click plus. Now I want to select that, so I'll double click on the little T here, and that will select that plus sign. And then I'll just come up to where this double T is next to the point size. And I'm just going to click and drag to the right until I get a pretty big plus sign, maybe about 75 or so, and then I'll click OK. But now I need to center that plus sign in the circle. So I'll get my Move tool, and I'm going to select both of these layers. And once I do, you notice that I now get a centering option up here. This is the horizontal center, and then here is the vertical center. So, I'm sorry, that is the vertical center, and then here is the horizontal center. Now that plus sign should be centered right in the middle of that circle. So now I can combine these two layers, and I'll hit Control E. You notice that it took it from a type layer to a pixel layer, because whenever you combine vector layers together, it pixelizes them. So I'll just double click on it and type +2. Now we need to do the same thing. We'll make a copy, Control J. We'll transform it, Control T. And just in case that's not in the exact center, I'll just right click and do rotate 180 degrees. And I'll move that down to the other corner. I'll click the check mark. I'll select both of those. Control E to combine them. And I'll just put this +2 icon. So I'll create a new layer. Now we need to go and get our 4 shapes. Now if you're doing 6 shapes, you'll pick 6 shapes here and you'll create 6 of them. But I'm only doing 4 for this particular deck. So I'm going to pick some that are a little bit different than I did before. I think I'm going to pick this crown right here. And I'll come over here and I'll just click and drag it out. I'll hold down the Shift key. So there's our crown. I'll make a duplicate, Control J. I'll transform it, Control T. I'll right click and choose Rotate 180 degrees. And again, I'll drag it down to the corner. Click OK. I'll combine those, Control E. I'll rename it, crown icon. Hit Enter. Then I'll turn it off. Go ahead and create a new blank layer. This time I think I'm going to select the jigsaw puzzle piece. So I'll select the jigsaw puzzle and go ahead and draw it out. Hold down the Shift key. Create a duplicate, Control J. Need to transform it, Control T. I'll right click, rotate 180 degrees, drag it down to the other corner. I want to make sure that it snaps to that corner down there. Click OK. I'll combine these 2 layers. Control E. Puzzle piece icon. And then I'll turn it off. I need to create 2 more. I'll go ahead and make a brand new empty layer. This time I think I'm going to get the little guy walking. Come over here. In fact, I think I'll do the 2 people walking. That seems a little bit friendlier. So I'll go ahead and I'll draw those 2. Now I need to make a duplicate, Control J, transform, Control T. right click, 180 degrees. And you can see that after a while this gets pretty quick when we're going to put these together. I'll shift click, Control E, and these are our people icons. We need one more. I'll create a new blank layer. I'll come up here, and for this one I believe I will get maybe I'll get the hammer and wrench. I'll come up here, I'll draw it out, hold down the shift key. I'll go ahead and make a duplicate, Control J. I'll transform it, Control T. Right click, rotate 180 degrees. I'll drag that down to the corner. Click OK. I'll select those two, hit Control E to combine them. I'll name this Tools Icon. Now I have all of my icons ready to go. So now we just need to create the actual cards themselves. And before I do that, I'm going to select all of these. I'll come up here to New Group from Layers, and these are our icons. And that way it just cleans it up a little. So next we're going to create all the different colored pieces, and then we'll start outputting our cards in the very next video.